You finished the email in 30 seconds. You wrote the report in 10 minutes. The slide deck that you used to take a Saturday, done before lunch. You feel fast. You feel sharp. You feel, in a word, productive. And here's the uncomfortable part. None of those feelings are evidence that you are actually getting better at your work. Some of them might be evidence of the opposite. This isn't a video about whether AI is good or bad. It's about a specific gap that's opening up quietly for almost everyone using these tools. The gap between output, what makes you productive, and the capacity, what you can produce when the tool isn't there. Most of us are tracking the first one. Almost none of us are tracking the second. There is a concept in cognitive psychology called the fluency illusion. It comes from decades of work by researchers like Robert B. at UCLA. The finding, replicated dozens of times, is this. When something feels easy, our brain takes that as an ease as a signal that we have learnt it, that we have it under our control. However, it's not always the case. The feeling of fluency and then the reality of mastery are two different things. Robert's lab has shown over and over that students who study in ways that feel productive, rereading notes, highlighting, watching a lecture for the second time, consistently overestimate how much they actually learned. The students who use harder methods, ones that feel slower and more frustrating to learn more, they just don't feel like they're learning more. Now, apply that to AI. When you ask a tool to draft your mail, the mail appears. It feels productive. But the feeling of productivity is being generated by the appearance of finished work, not by anything happening inside your head. The fluency is real. The competence might not be. And here's why this is so hard to resist. There's a long standing finding in cognitive psychology, sometimes called the law of least mental effort, that the brain has a measurable bias towards the easier option. In a well known 2010 study, the psychologist Kool and his colleagues gave participants two tasks of different difficulty and let them freely choose. Even when the rewards were identical, people consistently picked the lower effort one. Decades earlier, the social psychologists Susan and Shelley had given the tendency a name. We are cognitive missers. We don't spend mental effort unless we have to. This matters because AI is by define the lower effort option. Almost every task it touches becomes easier in the moment than doing it yourself, which means the choice is to use it isn't a neutral choice. It's a choice your brain is already gently tilted towards before you even think about it. That doesn't mean using AI is wrong. It means that the decision, if not to use, is on a given task has been made more deliberate. The default isn't neutral. The default is the easier path. Now, there is a famous counter argument here, and it's worth taking seriously. In 1998, the philosophers Andy Clark and David Chalmers published a paper called The Extended Mind. Their idea in plain language: if something outside your head is doing the same job a process inside your head would do, then it counts as a part of your mind. Examples: your notebook, phone, search engine. These are not separate from your cognition, they are a part of it. It's an attractive view, and it suggests that there's nothing to worry about it. Why fret over whether you can write without AI? AI is now part of how you think. That's not loss, that's evolution. I think there is something right about this, but also something missing. What's missing is a question Clark himself has spent decades wrestling with. Under what condition does an external tool actually integrate into your thinking instead of just sitting next to it? A notebook works because it's reliable, because you trust it, and crucially, because your using it does not erode the underlying skills you need to evaluate what's in it. What you write on your notebook are your thoughts. No one is feeding those thoughts into your head. You have thought them and actually written it. Hence, you can call that an extended mind. AI is different on every count. It's inconsistent across versions. And the judgment you need to use it well, to spot when it's wrong, to push back, to know what you actually wanted, is the exact judgment that goes soft when you stop exercising it. So the question isn't whether AI can extend your mind, it probably can. The question is whether the way you're currently using it is doing that or it's doing something else. This is not a new pattern. It's just a new tool inside a very old pattern. In 2020, researchers at McGill University studied what happens to spatial memory in regular GPS users. They found that people with more lifetime GPS use had measurably worse spatial memory when they had to navigate without it. In a smaller follow up 3 years later, GPS users showed steeper declines in the kind of memory the hippocampus uses to build mental maps. The sample size was small. The authors were careful about that, but the directions line up with a much larger body of work. The underlying skill, which is the ability to hold a city in your head, quietly erodes. You don't notice it because simply you don't need it until the day you do. In 2010, Raja Parashuraman published a major review in the journal Human Factors, pulling together decades of research on what happens when humans rely on automated systems. Two findings stood out. People working alongside automated tools became complacent. They paid less attention, cross checked less, catch less errors less reliably. The training doesn't fix this, practice doesn't. It's about how attention works. Here's why this matters now. With GPS, the deal is clear. You're trading spatial memory for convenience. You can decide if that's worth it. With AI, the trade is much harder to see because the things you might be losing are harder to measure than directions on a map. Judgment, the ability to wrestle with a hard sentence until it says what you actually mean. The patience to sit with the problem long enough to notice the real question underneath it. You can't tell them from outside whether you still have those because the output looks the same either way. So, here's the test I want to leave you with. It's simple and it's a bit uncomfortable, but that's the whole point. Pick something you used AI for this week, something real. Now ask yourself if the tool disappeared tomorrow, could I do this as well? Not as fast as well. If yes, then the tool has made you faster, it has made you productive. That's a genuine win. If no, or else if you're not sure, that's information too. It doesn't mean you stop using AI. It means you notice what's happening and you decide whether the trade is the one you actually want to make. Because this is the thing nobody can do for you. Not the tool, not the algorithm, not the next model. Only you can tell the difference between feeling capable and being capable. And only you decide which one you're optimizing for. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel and I'll be posting weekly updates.